Okay, here we're just going to take a quick review of graphing inequalities. So, a couple things you'll have to recall here is the difference between the solid dot and the open dot. The solid dot, if you're making a graph that looks like this, or like this, it means it's going to include the number that the dot is sitting on. However, if you make an open dot graph, which would be that or that, it does not include the number that it's starting on. It indicates as if that position is empty on the number line. Okay, and what do we talk about when we graph? We graph all the numbers that make this statement true. And we also see that there are infinite numbers that make the statement true for each of these. Okay, so directions, please graph the following. X is greater than or equal to -2. Again, there's infinite number of points that make that true. Infinite number of numbers that make that true. And they all are to the right of -2. So we're going to start at -2, and we're going to include it by filling it in, and then we're going to say all the numbers to the right. I broke one of my own little rules here. Is the best thing you can do is use a ruler. Okay, little note here, close dot. Okay, you don't have to make the notes when you're doing the problem yourself. They're just to help you along here. Close dot includes -2. Okay, and then on this next one where it says x is greater than -2, it means the numbers that are bigger than -2, of which there are infinite. So we can start at -2, and then graph all of the numbers to the right. But if you notice this time it's an open dot. The open dot excludes -2. Now that being said, you can't in this circumstance say, well, what's the smallest number in the solution? Because no matter what you say that's to the right of -2, you could say something that's still to the right of -2, but to the left of the number that you've said. Now in this one up here, the first example, you can say the smallest number. The smallest number is -2. It doesn't affect how we're writing our answer per se. It's just, oh, you can say the smallest, you can't say the smallest. It's just, an analytical note that you want to be able to see here. In this next statement, it's m is greater than 0. M is less than 0, if I read it correctly. You're going to see that we're talking about all the numbers that are smaller than 0, but not including 0. So we're going to start with a dot on 0 that's open. Okay, and talk about all the numbers to the left because they are smaller. Okay, and open dot excludes 0. Now what we mean by that is that 0 is not part of the answer. It's not part of the solution set. If you notice, that makes sense because if you put in 0, 0 is less than 0 is in fact false. That's why it's not part of the answer and it's excluded with the open dot. Okay, now this last one is just mildly tricky. Okay, it's a little hard to read. It's red left to right. It's -3 is greater than h. The one thing you really want to do is try and create a situation where you write these with the letter first. So I'm going to write it as h. Here's the -3. But if you notice here, the pointy part is at the h, and the open part is at the -3. So you must make sure that you write it that way. So the greater than is going to become less than. Now I've really changed nothing by doing this because again you'll see that the pointy part here is at the h and it was in the original problem. The open part is the -3 and it's still at the -3. So that being said, what we do now to make that graph is to start at -3, open open dot because we don't want -3 to be part of the answer. And then we're going to say that it's all the numbers to the left. Now, one of the advantages of writing the statement with the letter on the left, the variable on the left, is that you'll notice the arrow goes the same way the symbol points. Less than here goes left, and again, because the letter's on the left. Similarly here, letter on the left, symbol's pointing left, the arrow goes left. Letter on the left, symbol points right, arrow points right. Symbol on the letter on the left, symbol pointing right, arrow here points right. Makes it a lot easier to make your graphs if you just commit to writing your final statement with the letter, or variable, excuse me, on the left side of the statement. Makes it very easy to graph.